Today I completely broke Fortnite and ended up underneath the map, which may well have been punishment for my bad manners, but let's start at the beginning. As I swooped down to the reckless railways and duos, I would soon discover that my teammate was the kind of teammate I should never have on my squad. Yes, he was the type who encouraged clown-like behaviour. Other enemies landed nearby and our looting would have to be swift because my combat reflexes were already slower than a geriatric stormtrooper. With a couple of trash guns and the mighty nitro fist, we were ready to rock and roll, even though I couldn't even clear the train tracks without fracturing my knees. Gunfire had already echoed around the station, so I took up position at a peephole and unleashed the terror from my ranger gun. Then my teammate joined the fray. With one opponent left, it was a race to see who could finish him first. And I lost. Turned out there was still another enemy lurking around here, but my bearded driver understood the assignment to lure out the rat by wafting the smell of frosted flakes around this map, and it didn't take long. Wait, that was odd. Normally when you hit someone with a car, they go flying! Little did I know that this game would later break completely. Nevertheless, we celebrated being the champions of Reckless Railways. I decided to chill out from the morning's excitement with a picnic at the top of a hill, but a traffic warden showed up to remind us that you cannot park on the grass. I didn't reload my gun in all that time. At least one of us hit our shots, but I felt compelled to show this traffic cop where to stick their ticket, and that meant going for a ride. Sadly, there was an incident getting on the bonnet. You know what? On foot was fine. Here, write yourself a speeding ticket. An angry teammate wanted a word with us for our scumbaggery, so we happily obliged, but I somehow still hadn't reloaded my gun! Just as I went for the finishing super punch, avoiding a complete and total mental breakdown, I decided to focus on replacing those guns, and where better to do that than in Nitrodome, where the pistol was swapped out for a crossbow with exploding bolts. Then to the Grim Gate to pad my eliminations by interrupting an honourable battle. But this game was about to take another strange turn when we found an honourable battle of our own to fight. A car versus car showdown! The map was alive with firefights, but my eyes were fixed on our opponent, who turned out to be harder to catch up with than we thought. That is, until they realised that the only way this would end was a joust to the death. Okay, stop. Wait, where did they go? Did they vaporize? Well, no. Here's what happened. That Rocket League car had a huge advantage now, and despite us giving our best chase, we had bigger problems. I'd have to accept that our time in the SUV was close to an end, and while my bearded comrade had found us a replacement, a nearby battle had broken out, and that crossbow was ready to announce its presence. I really don't know what my teammate was thinking at this point, but he seemed to be having a good time in his new car. The shotgun as a secondary weapon might have been a mistake. Oh well, time for another duel, but this one would be quite different. Seeing how we were at a garage, we gave this guy a tune-up. It didn't seem like his squad mate was coming, so we decided to look for them, but as usual, standing on top of a car seems to do the trick, and in they came. one of those souped-up boss cars, but only one player meant he'd have to choose between driving and the turret. Our previous customer showered the floor with loot, and I dealt with the pesky car from afar, assuring that they wouldn't return anytime soon. But that was the least of our concern when the Rocket League jousting opponent from before had returned with hearts full of hate and vengeance. Teammate was obliterated, and I was 1v2 with more gunfire whizzing past my ear from further away. The simple fact here was that I just wasn't good enough to vanquish my enemies. So if I wanted a rematch versus the Rocket team, we'd need to be whole again. I had to try. Of course they jumped over me, of course they did! Time to fulfill my teammate's name. I just hoped that no one followed us. Made it! But we weren't alone here, and the storm would engulf us all soon. However, having a vehicle meant that there was just enough time to deal with any stragglers. Our time was up. We had to move, which is when it happened. Falling through the map and being instantly killed from getting out of bounds felt absolutely horrific. I felt cheated, betrayed, and disgusted. Oh, who cares? Well, here's another stupid game. Most people would be ashamed to show you terrible displays of selfishness, poor awareness, and downright bad manners, but I'm something of an expert in not caring, so bear with me, gentle viewer, as I guide you through the horrors of this match that began in classy courts, where my etiquette plunged into the sewer. Maybe it was because I opened up a chest that popped out my favourite beverage and my teammate ran by, only to yoink! Or perhaps I just woke up and chose chaos today. Either way, my enemies were about to sample my evil intent. You stole my cola, I stole your kill, a fair trade. But seeing how we couldn't agree on what loot belonged to who, I decided it would be best for everyone if we just fed this enemy to the seagulls instead. Determined to get some loot that wouldn't be yoinked, I challenged Tony the Tiger to a duel to the death, as his demise could bring me a mythic shotgun, and Spider Thief seemed to keep his distance. At least until the Tiger was low HP, then in he came sniffing around for the loot, but this time... Then, as a team, we decided that this piece of posh house was no longer necessary and utterly dismantled it for the good of the realm. But once we brought the foundations down, our bulldozer had no further use for me. Or teammate Waxy for that matter. And off they sped into the horizon. It appeared that our squad was splitting into two teams of two. Team 1 headed to Lavish Lair to take away another property from the Uber Elite, but I fancied a fight and scouted for enemies. Unsure of how much of a squad of loot goblins were on my side, I kept my distance for the time being. At the current rate of accuracy, it would be 2.5 days before these enemies died to my gunfire, but eventually, my teammates came to find out why I was emptying ammunition into thin air, and I could finally put my foot down. Then I experienced my first double boop. 1, 2. The chances of us becoming victorious then dropped dramatically as 2 of our 4 players in the squad did their own thing. So all I could do was drop a ping, and off we went, looking to thin the herd in restored reels, where one decision would change everything. Let me ask you this, when you miss every shot, and I do mean every single shot, what would you do to restore your honor? Teammate took to the skies, good idea, let's chase that sucker! Totally meant to land on that tree. I celebrated my success. Apparently, we had an angry music critic in the house, so I told him to cool off. At this moment, you might be thinking that my awareness should have now clocked on to the fact that Waxy's lightning ride did not involve chasing our opponent, and I was now in fact alone. But no, instead, the only thought that came to my melon head was to stick this enemy into a geyser to see what happened. And then, in came my enemy's entire squad, while my team were in dire need of their Ninja Turtle. Couldn't leave here now though, not until the job was done. Apparently, Waxy and Spider Thief met their ends in completely different encounters. No matter. Ragtag to the rescue! Oh, so tempting, but must resist. The reboot was blocked by that incoming squad. Either that streamer stopped to scratch their cheeks or there was an error 404 with the bot, but all I cared about was making it up to my new friend. I drove towards my teammate like the savior I was, shouting, "Come on, Waxy, let's do this together!" That was my bad. So, of course, I stopped the car while we were messing about with who sat where in the car, another team spied our squad and set about decommissioning my SUV once and for all. You know, it's funny how a little white wooden box with a red spanner can solve all your problems. The vehicle was fully restored along with my confidence to resume ramming speed along the railway line. Then I spied with my big fat porky pie, fresh meat. End game was upon us, but the most amazing thing right now was the fact that all 4 of our squad members were standing in the same place. However, it didn't last long because the storm was closing fast and we had to move. Playing to win now, so took the high ground and stayed within the circle. But apparently my squad were still in Destruction Derby mode. I hoped they'd come to their senses, and until they did, supported them from afar. Waxy had the right idea and chose a good hill, but if I didn't help out fast, then it would be the one he died on. Our squad was split once again, but once Spidey was back on his feet, we were 4v3 in the final showdown. The kind of showdown where everyone had a different idea on optimal strategy. This game was in ruins. 2 teammates down, Spidey on 1 HP, me with a full bottle of shields that he'd never receive. The tables had turned. It wasn't 4v3 now. It was 1 1/4 inch versus 2 of them. Somehow, our dysfunctional group of free thinkers managed to pull off the impossible, with me proving that I should perhaps consider a career in competing against buildings rather than players. But being rewarded for doing the most stupid, selfish and downright clueless plays reinforced the mindset that this is how every game of Fortnite should go. By the way, I have started streaming again Monday to Thursday, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. UK time. I don't know what time that is in your part of the world. You can Google or clock it, alright? And you can see me live, failing for your viewing pleasure. Goodbye.